Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Blue Marble Science. You know, after all this time, Anthony Riley still doesn't understand gravity, and he has no idea what the Cavendish experiment actually measures. Warning: severe facial and monitor damage alert is in effect. Get out those oven mitts, push the monitors back out of punching range, and let's light this dumpster fire and have some fun. Well, Anthony Riley is at it again, still saying that somehow or the other I cheated on the Cavendish experiment, and going through his usual yada about gravity not being a force and Einstein superseding Newton and so forth and so on. And at the end of this remark, he says, "You're a fraud, but listen to this. What did you do to make it act like that? We tried to repeat your test and could not get it anything like what you had it." Really, Anthony? You aren't seriously going to try and tell us that the Tony tub we see sitting here was a legitimate attempt to duplicate what I was doing? Does this thing look anything like this thing? Well, I guess not. Let's listen to Anthony talk about an experiment that was done in Austria, I think about a year ago, using some really small masses. This is stuff Anthony had to say on one of Nathan Oakley's streams.
Anthony, we're on the scientific evidence of gravity tip, and you've got physics just made the smallest gravitational field up for the last 5 minutes. So what gives?
So this is going to be in the context of why peer review is useless. It addresses in the short term scientific evidence for gravity, but the bigger picture for those on our side that get presented this need to be aware that this is why peer review is a joke. So this lady, Michelle Starr, has written an article in this sciencealert.com. Now, it doesn't seem credible on the face of it. It looks like it's popular science, but she leaves a link to her name so you can see who she is. And it says that she's a senior journalist at Science Alert. Her deep love and curiosity for the cosmos has made the publication a world leader in reporting developments in space research. So straight away, you can tell that this is nonsense, right? It's woo-woo stuff. It's obviously biased by this lady who believes in, well, let's look at some of her other articles. Supermassive black holes, ghost particles, all this is pseudoscience. None of this is real world, right? But she's a cosmologist.
No, she's a journalist.
So that gives her free reign to write any old nonsense. So take this with a pinch of salt, but be aware that it exists.
Anthony, you seem to be a little confused about what you're looking at. This is a magazine article. This is the abstract of a scientific paper. This one doesn't get peer-reviewed. This is the one that gets peer-reviewed.
This is a reboot of Cavendish experiment. On the face of it, it supports Blue Marble Science's Cavendish reboot as well, because they're claiming that with a little tiny piece of gold, they were able to attract this little piece of gold, because mass attracts mass.
They don't say mass attracts mass, Riley. They say they measure the gravitational interaction between two very small masses. You're just making up stuff to suit your narrative.
Now, obviously, this is in direct conflict with Einstein, who says that mass does not attract mass. What Einstein says is that one of these masses and the other one of these masses creates a gravity well, and they both fall into it, not with the force of attraction, but with a gravity well. However, the scale involved with Einstein is on the galactic scale. It's not on a piece of little gold on the end of a pin in a lab.
And of course, what Riley just said is wrong. General relativity falls apart at the quantum level, but at the macro scale, it works just fine. Riley wants to deceive you. He wants you to believe that general relativity totally replaced Newtonian physics. And it didn't. Even Einstein said it didn't. It simply gives a more precise answer under certain extreme conditions that we normally don't even encounter. Now, Riley's going to try and convince you that the torsion balance masses can't possibly move because gravity isn't a force. The problem is we see them do that. We see them do just that. And we can measure an apparent force just like something is pulling on the balance. Now, Riley still doesn't understand the purpose of Cavendish. And it isn't to show mass attracting mass or space-time bending. Cavendish did it to determine the density of the Earth. Today we do it to measure the gravitational constant, the thing we call Big G. The entire purpose of the experiment described in the magazine article that Riley is berating was to investigate the feasibility of working with very small masses. Even though the experiment was designed to map the gravitational field generated by two 50-milligram masses, they still were able to find Big G to within 9% of the accepted value. And oh, by the way, regardless of whether you're an aerospace engineer trying to land a rover on the surface of Mars using Newtonian physics, or you're a physicist trying to figure out what's happening at the event horizon of a black hole using general relativity, you're gonna need G. It's required for Newton, and you've got to have it to find the Einstein gravitational constant. That's what Cavendish does. It finds the value for Big G.
So this is, whatever this is nonsense. But the point I wanted everyone to be aware of is this was written in 2021, right? So it's bang up to date. So it's as if they're watching us and somebody's gone out and put their name to it.
Well, the police might be watching you, Anthony. I certainly hope you're not on TikTok pretending to be a kid so you can talk to other kids and try to convince them of your foolishness. You wouldn't do that, would you?
But what's really interesting in this this video, this thing, I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs. It's done in a vacuum. Now, get this right. Listen to how this is written. Right. Bear in mind that it uses the word supersedes. That's the word that we use, and we get. It's not a coincidence that she's used supersedes in this, in my opinion. But listen to what she says. She says, "There's a big problem. There's a big problem with the mathematics we use to describe in the universe. In particular, the way gravity behaves. Unlike the other three fundamental forces in the universe, weak, strong, and electromagnetic, gravity can't be described with the standard model of physics." So that throws F equals ma and all this apparent forces nonsense that Craig McNeil talks about into the bin.
Wow, Riley, I guess you better get a hold of Cambridge University, MIT, and every other university on the planet, I suppose, and let them know that Newton's F equals ma doesn't work anymore. In fact, why don't you do that? I'm sure the response you get would be interesting.
Anyway, Einstein's theory of general relativity is the model that we use to describe and predict gravitational interactions, and it works beautifully in most contexts. However, when we get down to quantum scales, general relativity breaks down, which is exactly what they're doing with this test here, because it's not necessarily quantum, but it's knocking on the doors of quantum because we're getting to tiny amounts here, right?
Oh, you gotta love it when these guys decide to show us exactly how truly ignorant they are. 50 milligrams is knocking on the door of quantum. An atom is quantum level, Riley. 50 milligrams is about 1.5 times 10 to the 20th atoms of gold, Riley. You're off by a factor of 100 billion. But I guess for you, that's actually pretty close.
And quantum mechanics takes over. Reconciling the two models so far has proven very difficult. General relativity supersedes an earlier model, shout out to Craig and Musa, Newton's law of universal gravitation, which hadn't incorporated the curvature of spacetime. It states that gravitational attraction between two objects is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distances between their centers. Newtonian physics works well for most terrestrial applications, even if it stumbles a little in astrophysical settings. This goes on and on and on. The bottom line I want you all to be aware of is this, on the face of it, supports blue marble science, but it directly conflicts with Einsteinian. So where's peer review now? Because somebody in their realm of science over pseudoscience that they claim that they self-moderate themselves. Where's the peer review people calling out this Michelle Starr?
This is a magazine article. Michelle Starr wrote a magazine article. Those are not subject to peer review. The scientific paper she was writing about was published in Nature magazine. Nature magazine will not publish anything that hasn't gone through the peer review process. Newton's law of gravitation remains in use every single day. This is what we use to land rovers on Mars or put satellites in orbit around Saturn. Newtonian physics is the physics undergraduates are taught, and it's the only physics we ever use in engineering. So when you tell people that Newtonian physics has to be discarded, you are simply telling a bold-faced lie, Riley.
Because unless she's claiming that she's debunked Einstein but by demonstrating that mass does attract mass when he says it doesn't, then peer reviews obviously failed in this instance, because peer review's supposed to call this stuff out and it's supposed to be credible, isn't it? So don't be fooled by this
Hold
article.
on. Okay, thank you. So, what's her independent variable?
Oh good, another pseudo-flat physics expert joins the discussion.
Same old nonsense. Same old nonsense.
Does it say? Can you do a quick search to see if you can find it?
Well, what I've done is I've emailed the author of this article, because if you go down to the bottom here, it says this article has been published in Nature, and when you go to the Nature, we've got Tobias Westphal, who appears here, and he's left his email address there. So I've sent an email to him saying, basically, could you confirm your independent variable? I haven't had a response to it yet. It's only been today, but here's a copy of the email that I sent to him. It says, "Hi, my name is Tony. I've read your published article in Nature regarding the gold torsion bar test. Could you please help me understand, did you comply with scientific method when you did your test? What exactly was your independent variable in your test?" So I've signed it off and I've put my qualifications there, Ranty.
What qualifications? Your library card? You don't have any qualifications, Riley.
But I'm not expecting to get a reply, because I think he'll think that I'm a troll. But I just want people to be aware this article exists and be ready for the ball earthers when they start citing it in support of Blue Marble Science, because peer reviews had a day off.
Now, back to your accusation that I conducted a fraudulent test despite the hundreds of hours of live video when I was actually running those tests. Maybe you ought to contact the University of Tennessee. They've got the Cavendish experiment in operation right now. I don't suppose you'd like to accuse them of fraud, would you? In fact, I got a better idea. Maybe you could share the details of your Tony tub with them. I'm sure they would enjoy a good laugh. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget the like and subscribe buttons. Click the little bell if you want notifications. Shout out to the patrons and PayPals. I really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you on the next one.